So welcome to the Southeast Michigan Media Lab. I'm Michelle Rogers, and this is Jim Pruitt. He's the editor of the Ypsilanti Courier and Manchester Enterprise. He's going to be speaking about how to write a press release that will have better chances of getting published. And this is the Southeast Michigan Media Lab. Hi, welcome. This is, you can come here for free instruction on anything that's related to social media or new media. We're looking for blogging partners, and we just help businesses, organizations, and individuals with setting up social media accounts and learning new digital tools. So, okay, Jim.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Well, thanks everybody for coming, and for you online. Hello. This is about getting press releases published, and I know that sounds really exciting for some people because it's like what, and it's really important to know the tips to get the word out, because if you want to let the world know what's going on in your life, especially with newspapers and the media in general, a press release is the way to go. So, and people are always trying to get the word out, tell something about what's going on in their world. You can read the list here, from school carnivals to concerts, from paper drives to political rallies, from new cola to a new bottle opener. People have something they want the world to know. And the press release is the best way to get that out, because you want to let the media company do the work for you. So how to get the message out. If you want, there's other ways to do it, I suppose, if you want to get the message out. You could run out right now and tell every person you meet on the street that what you know and what you got. Or you could go on your roof or a mountaintop or tallest building in the world and shout as loud as you can about something that you want to promote. That's been done before. And while those are unique and those methods aren't exactly expedient, efficient, or practical, but maybe if there was a form of media one could access that would communicate your message to the world. What if that was there? Ta-da! Lucky for you, there are newspapers, websites, TV, and radio stations eager to gobble up your information and share it with anyone who reads, listens, or views their product. And it's true. Especially our company, Heritage, we're all about community news. We want to gobble up as much local news as we can from people and report it. That's what we're all about. And this is the press release. If it's done in an efficient manner, it's a great way to get your message to us and for us to get your message out to the world at large. And so, like I said, it's a wonderful tool. And even though you may believe that your cause is just and right and all that, and that you alone have stumbled upon this form of communication, there are hundreds of other people who have the same idea. So what I'm saying is, you've got a lot of competition out there. People know about press releases. What I'm sharing isn't exactly new, but if you can follow these tips that I'm going to share you, you'll have a better chance of fighting your way through the crowd. Because as an editor, and I'm sure Michelle can relate to this, you get inundated with emails and snail mail and phone calls and just about any form of communication with press releases. We got this, 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 and this. And while we try to get to everybody, and we do care about local news, the better your press release is, the easier way we can get it into print or online, the better chance you have of getting your news out to the world. So rising to the top is key. And I can show you my email today, and it's just like, I had 41 emails when I came in this morning, and that's a light day. I cleared it out, and when I came back from a meeting, I still had another 40. So it's just, we're getting a lot of it's like, hey, we got this event, got that event, and as we get through this, I'll show you some tips on that. But the selection process can be brutal, not only for the sender but also for the editor. We we take everything that we get and we take a look at it. Some things, okay, when is this worthy? Are people going to care? Why should I care? So that's what we're going to talk about, are those steps that you need to get your release noticed and published. Has anyone ever sent a press release to somebody? Okay. Has it gotten published? Did it look anywhere close to how you sent it in?
I think it did pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The good, the bad, and the cliche. I was going to say ugly, but that's cliche. So,
I'm not in control of the press releases. They get done at a different level, so the message across the nation is uniform. And all I do is when I attach to an email, and in the email I may highlight a couple of facts that are pertinent to the local audience.
Okay. A good press release is succinct yet informative, and their submissions designed to get an editor's attention. Just as we tell our writers to write a story that hooks the reader in, if you're submitting a press release, you're wanting to hook the editor in, get them into your story. And you've got to make sure the writing's good, or the information is clear. But don't get rambling. I've seen a lot of press releases that are just huge, even about some coming act. It's like, just get the basic information, because there's, sometimes they get into this war and peace type deal. Nobody's going to read a 6-page email about some event. It's just, we don't have the time. Editors, most newsrooms have been slashed to the bone, and we all have a limited amount of time, and we're people too. So we want to work with you. So if you make it, you got a point, get there, and let us know. Then if we want to follow up or have a reporter follow up, the information there, we can go from there. But you don't have to overdo it. I mean, if the information is there, if it's got value to the community, then it's going to have a better chance to get in. So a lot of times, like in my company, I have 2 papers, 2 weekly papers. I'm the editor. I'm it. I have a reporter and I have me. So there's, when you're thinking about that, you're sending press releases out. Bear that in mind that you're one of many, and while we want to value what your information you give us, we can only have so much time, and there's not a huge staff going through all this stuff. So, and so just like a river or a stream, the path will be of resistance. The easier the press release is and the format, the better. That's the one editors are gonna pick. So a good press release will follow the formula of the 5 W's and the 1 H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. These are very important. If you follow this format, this is this is how we write. The who is very important. The who is like, who you are and who you're trying to reach. Be very specific. If it's a women's meeting, put that in a press release. This is designed for women. This is who you're targeting. It's fine because it helps us as far as where we put the story. And if you're trying to reach just men, that's fine too, or just kids. If it's family, that's fine. But if you scattershot the press release, chances are you're not going to hit anybody. So people like to want to know who this is for, because with us, press releases, we got to put a headline to it. So you tell us who to reach, then it helps us write a better headline. It'll draw people to your story. The what, what the event is and what it is you're trying to accomplish. The when, that's very important. Time, day, date. Very important that we have the accurate information. The where, what's the address, location. Why, why are you holding this? Why is this meeting that important? Why is this event, that people should know about? And the how do they access it? How do they register? How do they, if they want more information, how do they get a hold of you? Don't assume that we're going to put the information in or that we're going to look up a phone number for you. You have to give us all the important information, and then we can go from there. Again, it's very, we have to be as efficient as we can. It's very important that you give us the information that we can turn around and present to the public. If you have any questions, don't have to raise your hand. You can just speak up. I mean, I can talk all day, but I'd like this to be a give and take. So if there's any questions or you have a comment.
I've seen 2 kinds of press releases. Years ago when I was on the GM PR staff, what they produced were stories that were publication ready. And then I'm seeing the ones I'm confronting now where they're more or less a pitch to get the press out to an event, and they're not the story. Does the latter have any purpose in today's market?
Yeah, we're going to get to that, but I get those too. There's, and sometimes, publication ready is nice, but again, the long rambling ones, we got to cut those down. And so it's better just to get your, if you got a point, get there and get out. Tell our reporters the same thing. It's like if you have a point in your story, get to it, state what your point is, get to it quickly, and get out. Because people don't spend as much time reading as they do. I mean, all the surveys, or not all surveys, but there's been many surveys out there, people don't even go to the end of stories they read on the web. And we probably all can relate to that. You read a page or two, and then it's like you go on, because even the whole nature of the internet is like you bounce. So you want to make sure you get the important information up top. So.
Can I add something? I just want to add that in my experience, it's been if a press release is publication ready, in most cases the smaller publications will use that. It's the dailies that would then want to, instead of running your press release, they'll want to send their own reporter if they think it's worthy. But I think that attitude is changing now, and websites across the United States, news websites as well as print publications, they're accepting more and more community news. They're looking for news sharing partnerships with citizens and organizations, and I think they prefer to have it publication ready.
Okay.
That's what we're going to hit, as publication ready as possible. It takes practice to write a good press release and to write a good, even pitching a story. But bear in mind, we are editors and we discern things, and there's been a lot of newer organizations that have been burned by press releases from fake organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So, verify, sometimes we may, be as clear and straightforward as possible, and we'll get to the point, but, leave your adjectives at home. I was just listening to something on the radio about Mark Twain's advice to a writer, just instead of using the word very, just use the word damn. The editor will take it out and your writing will be better. So it's, instead of very, because very is a lazy word, so be very good, clear in your writing, straightforward. We appreciate that, because if nothing else, then if we see a good writer, we may tap you into being a stringer. So, press release can also help you, build the communication and working on good relationships. So newspapers live and die by the deadline. We call it deadline for a reason. So timing is everything. Know your deadlines for submissions. A good rule of thumb is 2 weeks minimum if you have an event, get the press release to your media outlets 2 weeks before the event, so they don't get caught flat-footed. I used to be the editor of a daily paper in Hillsdale, Michigan, and we once had a group that came in 4 minutes before their event started. Hey, can you cover this? Yeah, 4 minutes. It's supposed to. What's it start at 4:30? Look at the clock. It's 4:26. So, give the media outlets time to, if they want to cover it, to schedule it. So, and they also schedule getting it in the paper. I mean, with email, we can do a lot of things, but we still have a lot of other people ahead of you. And so just give us plenty of time, and then, things can work out better. So, any questions?
Well, I do have a question. The organization I'm currently working with tends to only give me the official PR release a day or two ahead of time, and sometimes not at all, even though we have the events forecasted out for a couple of weeks. So with this last round that I did, rather than waiting for this public PR release that I didn't know was coming out, I have just been doing emails. I reported on an earlier event that was related on the same topic and sent that in with the announcement of the one coming up locally. So as I'm trying to kind of make my way, since I'm not officially allowed to do PR releases, are these other formats working? Are emails that aren't officially PR releases?
Well, if you want to give an editor a heads up of what's coming, that's just common courtesy.
Okay.
Because even with the internet, where we can post things instantaneously,
Right.
the audience you're trying to reach may still never find it.
Right.
Because if you just, if they wait till like the day before, the day of the event, people have to plan their schedules out.
Yeah. Well,
And
we've
so-
been using your e-calendar and find that wonderful.
Yeah.
So that goes up early.
But
But just to get to the news.
like dailies, they need to schedule. They're doing, a daily paper, like tomorrow's paper is being done today. You know, you can't wait till tomorrow to, and I've seen that, I've had people like that, but even on a weekly, you wanna give the information to us quicker, so we can get it in, because if you wait till, I've had people wait till we're laying the paper out, and I've already got everything filled up, it's like, can you get this in? It's like, no, we don't wanna be, well, we can post things online, but if you schedule it too close, people aren't gonna look, even if they see it, it's like, well, if I had known this a week ago, maybe I could have planned for it. And so that's my point here, is just to realize that while we can publish anything that we want, if you don't give the readers enough time to read it, find it, digest it, and think about it, then you may not reach the audience that you want.
So it sounds like that once it's in your inbox, whether it's a formal press release, as long as it's in your inbox, you go through it in the same way. You don't toss the ones that aren't official press releases aside.
Yeah, I mean, if you're giving us a heads up, there's some events, and a lot of times, there's sometimes we'll go to like libraries, we go to the library calendars and see what's coming up for story ideas, or to fill out a calendar. But if you got we don't go to every organization, because we don't have, sometimes we don't know of an organization, and you may have a good following, but not everything. That's why we depend on local people to submit stories and give us story ideas, and for community news. And just working out the easy, the best way for everybody.
And I just want to add, with shrinking resources as well, that we encourage you to do your own coverage. So maybe we don't have the resources to someone to your event. You could have someone at that event covering it, taking photos, putting together a photo slideshow, or and writing a post about it, maybe using a video platform like Tout, which is 15 seconds videos to create videos that you then share with us. There's an embed code you can share with us. Or if you uploaded a longer form video to YouTube and share the embed with us, we can put that in your article that you submit. And you can provide the whole product that we would put online with the story, video, photo slideshow, the works.
Yeah, but thank you, because that's another way too. We can put your press release in the paper, but we may not be able to cover it. And like Michelle said, we've got a lot of tools that you can use, and we can work together. And that's the other benefit of this, is that you build up partnerships with your media outlets, and you work with them. And because of our diminished resources, we don't have big staffs and like they used to. And so if you cover your own event, promote your own event, we'll put it up, because we benefit from your work, and you benefit. So it benefits, mutually beneficial, symbiotic relationship. So, and a well-written piece, if you're excited about your event, it's going to show in your writing. So we like to get excited too, because we'd love to find out about new things going on in the community. And we may be able to cover it, or we ask you to cover it, but still, it's like, if we can get people out there, get the word out there, then everybody benefits. So we'd love to get excited about the community. So if you give us a well-written piece, your excitement's going to go through your writing. We'll get excited, and it'll benefit everybody, and it'll be good on both sides. But not every submission is going to generate excitement. There are some events that we get all the time, and we understand that. We run it, dinners at churches, carnivals at schools. There's common events that happen that are important to us because they're local events, but you really can't if you've worked in a PTO or some organization and it's like the 15th time you've done this event, it's not, the excitement's really not there unless you've added some new twist to it, but that's okay, that's just human nature. But we'll still get that kind of information in. But if you got something really new and you're something that you're really excited about, that's gonna editors are gonna notice that, and it's gonna rise up there, and they're gonna catch their eye, and so they may expand on it. So the best, just do your best, and that's why it could make a great story, a photo gallery, or more. Like Michelle was saying, you can. A good submission, a good well-written piece can just open up a lot of doors. But if you just send it in, it's like, and hope for the best, it may not always work out that well. And I'm just trying to be honest with you about how editors are thinking, and these are just tips and general rules. Everybody's different, everybody's got, there's some people that maybe have different keys, but we'll get to that about like know who you're writing to and even who to contact. But just remember, the key word in the word newspaper is news. New. It's something new. We want to get the word out, something new. And if you want to, like I said, if you've been doing it over, maybe somebody else come out, or you come up with a different angle saying, hey, we got this coming on, something new, a speaker, some new event that you're having, it could be like, a church social, an ice cream social, but we're going to do in Manchester this year, the St. Mary, it's a Roman Catholic church, and they've had a ice cream social since the 1890s. And it's an ice cream social, so what can you do in an ice cream social? Well, this year they added music for the first time. They got new people in the group, new organizers, and besides the ice cream and the food, they added a market, and they brought in local music, and that's a new twist, and that's what people want to hear about. And so, it was a huge event. It was new to me, so I was excited about it because I'm trying to get in the Manchester community. So that was really cool, and the priest was Father, I think his name's Tim, told me about that. It was new this year, and so it really added a lot of flavor. There was a local cult group that teaches kids how to play instruments for orchestras, and they did a really good job, and it just added a nice ambiance to the event. But staying fresh is the key. Now excitement is one thing, hyperbole is another. The one thing that editors will roll their eyes is when people go over the top in their press releases. It's like, please, especially some of these events. So, like I said before, leave your adjectives at home and let the editor decide if it merits more attention. Get the information to us. If you write well and you intrigue us, we might ask for more. But just be clear, state your point, and get there quickly. Because time is of the essence for us, and because in today's newspaper world, weeklies are now online dailies. So we post stories online daily. Dailies are up to the minute. So we're always looking for new information, so we consume a lot of information, but the easier you make it for us to get that information to the internet and in print, the better it is for you and for us. So time, efficiency is the key. When I say don't get cute, if you send us a picture of a puppy, we're all going to go, aw. So, that kind of cute's okay. Style. There is a good style to use. A nice objective frame of reference is the AP style book. Your organization should get a copy of that because most newspapers follow that. It's sort of like our Bible for journalists. It shows us the style of writing and how to phrase words and how to do simple things. Most of the goal is to condense your writing to use the least amount of space, but still communicate effectively because space is always, especially in print, the issue. So I recommend that everybody that's dealing with press releases get an AP style book and look at it. You never know what you can find in a copy of it. You can go. I found an old copy at a Salvation Army store, so and I have one at home and one at my office. So
How often is it updated?
yearly,
It is.
yeah, and you can go online and get it, or college bookstores will have it, things like that. And you can always even find AP style online. There's plenty of references online for AP style. So if you're not sure about something, you can just Google it, and because I do that. Sometimes I don't want to just flunk through the book. I just Google it and it's right there. So there's a lot of references for that. But it's a good, objective, common reference that everybody uses. And just minor points, but it makes it, like I said, it makes it easier for the editor to get the information online and in print. Because like if it's a good publication-ready press release, all we got to do, if it's an email, you just copy and paste, and we're good to go. And then the editor will look at your stuff favorably the next time it comes along and say, hey, yeah, they're good. Any questions? And it's really not that expensive if you want to get the book. The book is nice because it's generally in a spiral, so you can just flip it. It's easy reference. And I find it just because I'm a writer, there's a lot of good information there. It's almost like an encyclopedia and tips for journalism. And we'll get to some of the style, what I mean by that. It may seem minor, but even those little things, can help your press release. So like, because this as an editor, this is one of my things that I watch, because I had style when I was training in this business, style drummed into me. So when you do like times, there's AM and PM, there are periods in between the A and the M and after the M. So you put the word AM there instead of the periods, then the editor's got to put the periods in there. PM too. Just little things like that make it easier on us. And if it's 10 o'clock, all you gotta do is write 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. You don't have to put the colon and the double zeros. Just little things like that. And the other thing that everybody gets confused on, don't ever write, please do not use 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. because nobody knows what that means. Just go with noon and midnight. Some events are overnight, midnight, because most people will say 12 p.m. they're thinking midnight. Even technically it's noon. Or 12 a.m. they're thinking noon, but really it's midnight. So if you just use the words noon or midnight, you'll help out. If it's a Michigan event, you don't have to use Michigan. Most people will understand that it's within the same state. But if you're an Ohio-based organization, it's okay if it's going to go regional. Then you're going to use the postal abbreviation or the old-fashioned abbreviation for states.
Hey Jim, can you move your left?
Yeah, you're covering the screen a little bit with
Oh,
your
I'm
arm.
sorry.
It's okay.
I take up more space than I think I do.
Thanks.
Okay, addresses, another big thing. If it's like this, 555 Main Street, where you abbreviate street. Seems like a minor thing, but it helps. Or avenue, but spell out road or drive. RD period, if you just spell out road, we're fine. And drive, because DR period in journalism speak is doctor. So you don't want to get confusing. And if you use doctor, it's only for medical professionals. Anybody else, you can just put a PhD after their end or something. So like we get a lot of churches and it's like the doctor so-and-so. Well, unless they're a medical doctor, we're going to put the reverend in there or, they got someone. And for phone numbers, just follow this format, area code, dash, exchange, the numbers. Don't have to put parentheses around area codes anymore. Don't use dots. I know that's in advertising they do it, but if you just do this makes it easier. And this is another one, just another example. Instead of using over and under, those I can get out of everybody's way. Those are spatial things, but more than and less than are amounts. And just clear writing is proper writing. Journalism is one of the last defenders of the English language, and so I train my writers and I try to train people on, let's get it right, let's be correct, because if we lose our language, we lose the ability to communicate. Now, people may say, well, we know what you mean, yeah, but you want to be right, because you want to be a good communicator. And then, who are you going to call? And in this case, the answer is not Ghostbusters. Again, another cliche. You can know who the right person is to get the press release to. You don't send a church item to the sports desk, because it's not going to get there. They're going to say, well, I forget it, I don't know who you. In the same way, you wouldn't want to spend sports information to the religion desk, because it's just going to die there. It's not going to get resurrected. So, phone calls are nice, we like to talk, emails are great too. So, if you don't know who to call, just, on our website we have a contact us information. And we always have, our stories, and in the newspaper we have our telephone numbers, we have our cell phone numbers, we have our email addresses. Just find out, who you need to talk to. The editors will really like it if you ask those kind of questions. Then they can tell you who the right person is. Because if you don't know the right person to get your information out, it's not going to get out. So that's just that's a little homework on your part. We can help you if you get it to us. With me it's easy. I mean, if it's not sports, I'm going to get it. But if you're talking about dailies, they still have generally more editors and you don't want to get lost in bureaucracy. And know the reporters that cover your community too, because you can get their information and send them stuff too. And they may follow up on a story or they'll bump it up my way. So, and if you get our publication, our all of our writers have contact information with their stories.
Question, do you think it's better to send to reporters or to editors? Or to
Generally editors, unless you build up a relationship with a reporter who maybe covered an event before, saying I got another event, because they're always looking for stories too. And if they have a question, they'll come to us and say, hey, what do you think about this? I covered, when I was a reporter, I covered this local barbershop quartet group, the Huron Valley Harmonizers. And even after I became an editor, they kept sending me information about their events. And if I could get to it, I'd report on it. Otherwise, then I started farming it out to reporters. But that's a good thing. If a reporter comes to your event, build up a relationship with them. Because then they'll get to, the more they get to know you, the better their stories are going to be, and the better the coverage for you is going to be. And that's what we want. We want our people to develop relationships with the people we cover. You know, community newspaper, it's a two-way street. We want to get to know you, we want you to get to know us. And I found that the more I come to an event and get to know people, more information comes out. You know, as you get to know each other, you know, you learn more about each other. Just like any friend you've got, the more you get to know them, the more you get to know them, more about them. And you know, and as things change, you want to, and that's the same way with news stories. We like our sources, get to know them, because then the stories get richer and people enjoy them more.
I like to add to that, they get more accurate as well.
Yeah, accuracy is key. And a lot of times, you know, if the press release has got wrong information in it, that gets us off on a wrong foot. You know, we assume something that we covered in a meeting, we assume something, or, you know, if it's not clear, you know, that's why addresses, knowing that it's an avenue or a street, because sometimes there could be the same number or different parts, you know, different communities. So it's like, be very specific on where to find things, or the phone number if a number's off, or what email address or a website, and make sure it's the right information, because it gets off, and then you know if there's anything that's wrong in the press release, the reporter, if he's going in there green, he's not going to know that, or he or she is not going to know that that's wrong, and then we'll return around and report it, and the next thing you know, hey, you got this wrong. It's like, well, nobody told me. So.
Can I add too about contacting? It's also on social media is another way to contact. So a lot of editors and reporters have professional Twitter accounts and Facebook pages. So you can follow them on those avenues and then send out a tweet, you know, and just mention them in the tweet, or direct message them, or message them through Facebook.
So she's really good at all that stuff. So she's a good person to talk to on that. So it's but. We still like to pick up the phone. We like to hear other voices. You know, don't want to just keep it sterile on a page. You know, and but we like to get out and talk to people. So if you know us and you see us in the community, you know, you can come up and say, hey, you know, can I send you this? Sure. You know, we are always looking for new stuff. Now you've done all that we've asked you to do. You sent us the information. You gave it as clear as you could. You followed our style. You send it to us, and then you don't see it in the paper. You don't see it online. You go, well, where is it? Where did I send it to you? So call us up. Give us a call. We're accountable. We want your stuff. We don't get it in. We can let you know if there's a problem, if, you know, there's just too much information. In my Manchester paper, we have a thing on the front page called In Briefly, and it's just little paragraphs of events that are coming up. And it's a real popular section, but there's not a lot of room. So generally I go first come, first serve. And people say, well, why didn't we get it in? Well, because there were 3 other organizations ahead of you. There's only, you know, you only do so much. And it's real popular. So I try to get it in everything we can. And I'll put it in the calendar in the paper, but you know, they want that spot. It's a real, but you know, if we're not getting it in, call us up. Because sometimes, you know, we put something on the back burner, you know, and then something else comes up. There was this last weekend, you know, the sad story about the football player from Eastern who was, you know, killed in his apartment complex. Well, that took our reporter away from an event we were planning on covering. But you know, at least my reporter had the good sense to call up the group and say, I can't make it to your event because of this. But sometimes those things happen, and reporters, you know, or editors, we get busy on now of a crisis that's happening, and your press release may get pushed in the back. Give us a call. And you know, if you don't see it the first week after putting it, give us a call, because sometimes we may have other things that come up, and it may get lost in the shuffle. We don't wanna do that. Sometimes things do fall through the cracks, you know, because we are human, but, you know, we are accountable, so give us a call if you don't see your stuff in the paper. But I also understand because you're not paying for it, this is a free service, there's no guarantees that they're gonna get in the paper. If you wanna guarantee information getting in the paper or getting online, you call the sales department up and you buy an ad. And that's what I tell people, and sometimes you may do both, you may promote the ad, your event through an ad and a press release, and, you know, something, a brief in the paper. The ad is great because you guarantee that it's gonna get in there and you pay money for it. You know, our side, we don't handle money. You know, don't offer us money, it's not gonna be any good. At least if we're ethical, well, you know, if we're unethical, then, you know, then we get out of newspapers and get into politics, so. And then we can become a news story ourselves, so. It's happened, so. So, any questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, question. So, I don't know if you know this or not, I was a little late, but, does it make it any more, you know, like you're likely to publish it if there's pictures or not?
Oh, yeah,
Video or not?
yeah, it may or may not help, but we'll use it. I mean, if you email us photos to go with events, that's great. I'm a visual guy. That's why I love having pictures with stories, because
Okay.
it gives the reader something to look at and it draws them into it. And,
So even if it's like an old photo of the year before
Yeah.
or something like that,
yeah,
then.
we do that all the time. We'll do a
Okay.
preview story of an event, an annual, like a fair or something. We'll go in last year's issues and pull out old photos and run them. You know, it doesn't always have to be fresh. If it's from last year's photo, that's fine, because we may be asking you to take photos again this year, and then we'll use them again next year. So that's a great thing. It's a great tip. Pictures are always welcome. Even sometimes it's a standalone photo. You can just put a little caption with a photo, and that may work better than a full story. So
Yeah, I was gonna add that, sometimes that can even get you on the front page, because sometimes we're struggling, we don't have enough photographs or art to put on the front page, and you want it to be visually appealing. And if a press release comes in and it has a photo with it, and you need a photo for your front page, that could be your
Yep.
way in.
I've done that before. Photos are a great tool.
I have a question. When I have submitted articles afterwards, I've done two things. I've embedded the photos at the end of the article as well as attach them as separate. Should I just keep them out of the text?
Yeah,
Keep them out of the text.
as attachments.
Okay.
It's easier.
Okay, so you put them as attachments
Yeah.
too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if you put the press release and the photo as attachments, it makes it's a lot of times it's easier. Yeah, it's just one less step we gotta do, because then you just download the document.
And
Yeah.
always subtitle them and everything too?
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yep, if you just put captions in your document that go with the photo, that's fine. But again, path of least resistance. That's one of the lessons if you walk out of here, path of least resistance. Okay. I was gonna do an exercise, but, you know, really just think about, you know, if you got an event, if you wanna test one out and just send me one as a test, I can give you my email address. Or if you can think of some, maybe you've had troubles getting them in, you know, we can, you know, troubleshoot things, but, I wanna save a few trees, so I didn't print out any examples. But just, you know, you can go through it and, you know, you can even pitch me an idea and what we would need to convince an editor that it's worthy, you know. So, I'll take any suggestions if you've got something that you want to promote. Because I'm assuming you're all here because you want to write a press release, and you know, if you think about, you know, tell me who, you know, just tell me the 5 W's and the H, you know, it can help you get a better press release. Any questions or comments?
I have another question. So you said when you got in this morning you had 40 emails or so, I'm assuming a lot of them were pitches. Sometimes I feel like the subject line is the make or break. Just by reading the subject line, you can tell if that's going straight to the trash or not. I don't know if you touched on the subject line because it was.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. If it's a community event, put the name of the community in your slug lines, because that's gonna pop up. A lot of us, we do Google alerts, you know, it's like, you know, say, you know, the Ypsilanti Red Cross is gonna have a blood drive. put Ypsilanti in there, I'm gonna notice it because I want Ypsilanti news. You know, if you just say blood drive, you know, generic blood drive, it's like, well, where's this gonna be? It's not necessarily gonna be in Ypsilanti, but put the name of your community in your slug line, and that'll get the editor's attention, because then they'll go, that's local. And, again, know which communities your newspaper that you're sending it to covers, so that you're not sending something from out of the area. Because a local story, hyper-local story is gonna take precedence over a county story or generic, something out of the area, because we don't wanna drive people out. I mean, there is, we are, like, I'm a Manchester thing, so, you know, I get a lot of stuff from Jackson and Adrian. Some of the stuff, maybe, if it's, you know, big enough, like if it's an Alzheimer's group or something like that, I might put that in the paper, because it's a small town, so they can't go to everything. Or there's like Chelsea has a ham radio group, I'll put that in my, both Ypsilanti and Manchester, because I know there's a lot of people into ham radio, and Chelsea's not that far, and so I'll put that in the paper. But if it's, you know, something in Detroit or Dearborn or Jackson or Hillsdale or Toledo, it's gonna have to be something really cool for me to put that in there, because I don't wanna be, you know, take something local out to put something regional in. We have community pages or common pages that, you know, a lot of regional stuff can go in, and I'm just interested in hyper-local information. So if you're wanting to send me something, it's gonna have to be about Ypsilanti or about Manchester, or I'll send it to somebody, push it off to somebody else, because that's my two priorities right now. And whatever community you're from, those editors are gonna be concerned about those communities first. Now, there are, you know, gonna be things that are gonna apply to everybody, you know, but, you know, it's like, you can make it, you know, as specific as possible. And then even in your information that you give us, you know, this is why I think this is important. You know, we're gonna have, you know, even if it's a fun event, like, you know, you're organizing a local bridal show, and organizations do that, you know, it's like, let people know this is, you know, the men and women who are gonna get married this year, you know, are gonna wanna see what's latest in fashion or catering or things like that. You know, just give us that information and use that word local, you know, the town that you're in, the people of Ypsilanti or the people of Manchester, the people of Chelsea are gonna wanna know about this. Your readers are gonna wanna know about this, and then explain why they're gonna wanna know about it, why this event deserves placement over somebody else.
Maybe you can speak more to timing, because I know when I was an editor, I was editing 3 publications, and if someone got their press release in by Friday or the weekend, because I would work over the weekend, then I could get to it and get it posted or get it in print. But if it came Monday, I'm on crunch time, because everything had to be done by Monday night. So you kind of want to look at deadlines and time it just right, you know, to get in their hands. Do you feel the same way, Jim?
Yeah, that's why it's 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally 2 weeks, because that gives us plenty of time to schedule. And then, you know, put it online, because you don't want to get, 2 weeks is a good rule of thumb, because if you give it earlier than that, we can publish it, but then people are going to forget about it. If you less than that, then time crunch, and people don't have the time to plan. You want to make sure people have enough knowledge of the event coming up that they can plan and see if it works. That's why it's good to have the information. You go time, day, date, and then place. People it's the rule of thumb to eliminate, you know, people can eliminate themselves from an event. If you give them the time, 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm not available at 8 o'clock in the morning, they're gonna stop reading. But it's good, because you don't want, you know, waste their time. But if it's, you know, okay, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, well, I'm still available. On October 27th, if it's a random date. Okay, I'm still going. And it's like, oh yeah, then I'll go. You know, you help the reader, you know, figure out when you can go. But if you give them the information ahead of time, then they can plan and say, well, I can change my schedule for that event. That sounds really interesting. You know?
Do you suggest also submitting it more than once, so that it appears maybe, you know, 2 weeks before and then 1 week before?
Yeah, you can always ask to see, you know, that's why a lot of times we may publish an event, you know, as a brief or a little short story in the paper, but I'll put the event also in the calendar, community calendar. That way, it might publish a couple times,
Okay.
and it can go online, you know, and you can always ask again, you know, can we put this in again? You know, if it's an important enough event, there's that in briefly I was talking about, there was an organization, they needed drivers to give like Meals on Wheels. they were down to their last 2 drivers, and one guy was like really old, and he has to stop driving, but there's no replacement. So I've been running that almost every week, to let people know if they really need it. I even put the word desperately need somebody. You know, sometimes we'll put the we'll hype up the story if we think it's worth, like that. They really do need one because they have one driver who's almost too old to drive, and he should be the one getting the meals and not delivering the meals. And we've written a story about that, but we just can't seem to get people to volunteer. But sometimes we'll do that. We'll put it in. We might put it in again, especially online, or just refresh the story and put it online again, just to remind people. But but that's where a lot of times you may want to just buy an ad, and that way you can run in the content side, but also run in the, and if you're a nonprofit, a lot of times salespeople can give you a break on the pricing, so they're willing to work with anybody. Yes, sir.
Jim, I have a question about, you talked about APIs, style formatting, but in the actual style, the technical style of the email, we typically do a lot of our press releases, or all of them now, in MailChimp. And so we don't attach photos, we typically embed them at the end, and it's an HTML email. Do you prefer that, or as an editor, do you prefer more of a personal email? And that's the first part of the question. The second part is, in the subject line, do you like to be informed that it's a press release or media advisory in the subject line, or do you just kind of get that just from the subject that it's included?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a local enough event, if it's, sometimes you open it up, just, again, that's another way to try to hook us in, but as far as, if you send us an email, send a photo as an attachment. It's just easier for us to get the photo ready to go for publication.
I think your MailChimp stuff is going to end up in our spam folder. So,
Okay.
yeah.
More so than sending the email with an attachment, where some
Mhm.
filters may say it's an attachment, we don't want to see that, or?
No, we
Okay.
get attachments all the time.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the newsletter format. Isn't the MailChimp like that? Yeah, that gets rejected in spam,
Really?
and then it might take us a few days to wade through all our spam and find it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing too, sometimes your stuff ends up in spam that we're not aware of, and so if you don't see it, that's another reason to call up and say, hey, I sent you, but, I'm not sure what this system, we just switched back to Google Mail, so, but a lot of times if you just type in the words not spam somewhere in the body copy or in the slug line, it can beat the filter.
Okay.
So, that way you can, get more information. Little steps like that, because some email systems are real sensitive to that, and others, you probably type in the words not spam, Now, there's some press releases I get that I realize this is spam, and I just mark it as spam, so. But just like I said, don't go overboard on the hyperbole, the adjectives. Just streamline your writing. If it's important enough, we're going to recognize it. That's what we're trained for. But, you can sell us on the idea, and and if you don't see it, you can talk to us and plead your case. Because if it's local, we want to get it in the paper. We're really great about that. That's what we want to do. We're be the #1 community source for community news. And so if it's community specific, just talk to the editor or pitch it to them like that, and chances are you'll get a lot of cooperation, because I'm not in the business of saying no. I want to be the guy that says yes, because I want to work with everybody, because every reader is important to us. And the more, if I can fill it up with local news. Manchester is my biggest challenge, because it's such a small community and not a lot goes on, but I know there's more going on than what I know about. And so I don't want to say no to any local group in that community, because I want them to know they can trust us to put their information in and report on it. As far as repeating information, in the Manchester area, the area churches have they have annual ice cream socials, and so I just keep rerunning the brief and just taking one church off and leading with the next church, but running the rest of the calendar of the upcoming ice cream socials. So there are cases where it's easy to rerun a story if it's like a series like that. If you've got things coming up, special events, and who can turn down ice cream in the middle of July? So, so it was a fun time. Like I said, I'm open if you want to know about style, or if you've got something. If you want to write my email address down, it's jpruitt, Pruitt, at heritage.com. And you can send me your press, since this is for the people here locally, not everybody online, thank you very much. If you guys are here, if you want to send me a trial email, I can tell you, what looks good and what doesn't, help you out. Because, that's what I'm here to do. I volunteered to do this because it's important, that, people be able to get their information out and for newspapers to report it, but if we work together, we can do great things. And it's, because the community newspaper is the future of journalism, and, we celebrate that. And so all of your information that you want to get out, we value. I can say that honestly, because most of the editors I know, we value that, because that's all we're about. And sometimes, it may be a national issue, and you guys also can become sources for us. If you got, some of as we get to know you and your expertise in certain areas, if there's a national, county, national, state story that we need a local comment on, we may call you up and say, your organization, deals with this, what's your take on this? So there's a lot of things that, we can blossom and people can trust, if you become a more trustworthy source, we're gonna go to you for more information even beyond your agenda, but, helping us, communicate to the readers, if you've got like a charity or, you're like if you represent a industry, what economy stories, it's always good to have a trustworthy source, but a local source. Well, somebody goes, hey, he's from my town or he's from our area, you're more likely gonna reach more people that way too, they'll trust you more. And somebody, like these anonymous sources in Washington, who knows if they even exist,
Right.
It's like, but if we get a name from a local community, people are gonna go, hey, he's like my neighbor, I can trust him, he's gonna, or trust her, she's gonna tell me the straight scoop. Yes.
I'm from the Northville area, so where does, I'm not familiar with where Heritage does their.
So Northville, probably the Oakland Press is your paper,
Oakland
right?
Press, yeah.
So you would email Monica, MONICA .Drake @oakpress.com. So anything for the Oakland Press would go to her for community news.
You said Oak Press?
Oak Press, yep.
Would you say that for what you've presented today goes for the other editors of the other heritage papers like Austin Smith and Gary Winkleman?
Yeah.
Okay.
They may do things a little bit differently. I was just, on style, I'm more of a purist. Some people aren't so much, but I figure if you go aim high, then you got a better chance.
Yeah.
So again, you just learn to work with the editors that you're dealing with and what they want. But I just this is my style. I want rules of thumb. They're not etched in stone because you're flexible. The language changes, but clear, concise writing always will win the day.
I'm going to put a plug in too for bloggers. We're always looking for blogging partners. So if you're with a nonprofit group or you have an expertise, if you start a blog, we can help you start one here if you're not familiar with the various platforms or how to get it going. And then what we do is we link to it. So on our websites, all of our websites across Michigan, Oakland Press, Macomb Daily, the Heritage Group, Morning Sun, and Mount Pleasant, there we have an area, if you look under each drop-down menu for business, news, features, there's a blog section, and then we list the title of the blog, and then and we link to it. So it'll drive traffic to your website. In exchange, we just ask you to put your headline widget in your blog, so then people might see one of our headlines, and then it'll drive traffic back to us. So if you are with a nonprofit group and you have a blog, we'd be happy to link to it and ask you to link back, and then we encourage our editors then to repurpose some of your content for print. So with your permission, we might copy and paste one of your blog posts and then give you credit and let readers know where it came from and what your blog's URL is. So if you ever want to find out more about that, you can just contact me here at the Media Lab.
Yes, Sam.
A couple of things. Press releases, like, there's an event that we're gonna be having, going on the 12th. It was a question on how early we send the press release, because you don't wanna send it too early, because then obviously it loses news value and it may not be published. So if you have an event that's going on a certain date, how early should you send the press release?
2 weeks.
Okay.
And then, if you don't see it, follow up with the editor.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure. You keep saying slug line or
That's what I call it, it's just the title, when you send an email, the topic, what the
Is it
topic,
subject or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I just,
It's newspaper speak.
newspaper speak, journalism
Okay, I
called
wasn't
slug lines.
sure, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we should just automatically in subject put press release, then like our title for our.
yeah, and it's like, if it's a
Just
community
this way.
specific, what the community is, whatever, like say it's Cub Scouts, Troy Cub Scout troop meeting or something like that, or whatever, that's gonna catch their eye because that's the community that they're covering, whatever community specific in the subject line,
Who it has to do with that.
yeah,
We don't need to write down press release.
No. they'll
Just
figure it out.
Just write
Yeah.
the subject,
Mhm.
write that in the subject
Yeah.
line, and then in the body of it, or don't put it in the body, but make an attachment, you said?
If there's a photo, yeah, make an
No,
attachment.
but like the actual press release, do you
Yeah.
want it in the body
It
of
would,
the
you
email?
could
or-
like a little brief in the email, and then if you got like a formal statement, you can make that as a Word document, make that as an attachment. We get that all the time, or you can you can put in the body of the email, copy and paste is okay, but some organizations like to make a PDF of something and then a Word document, whatever the format works, so,
Right,
but if you send those as attachments, it makes it easier for us to get them in our system and format it.
Do you prefer PDFs or Word docs?
I prefer Word documents. If it's an image or, like a graphic or something. And logos, if you have logos, if your organization has a logo, you can send us, that works great too. If it's, you don't have a photo, but you got a logo, a lot of times that helps too, because, the more ways you can, our challenge is to find more ways to bring the reader into the page. And photos and logos and things like that, or if it's just even a mugshot, just a photo of a person, like if you got a guest speaker coming, or your organization, whoever the leader of your organization is, if you quote them. Some people will write stories and they quote somebody in the organization. If you got a photo that goes along with that person, that works great too, because people like to see the face of who they're talking. So.
and, like, I would guess in the first paragraph, you would put like all your 4 Ws and.
Mhm. Yep.
And H, and then in the second paragraph, like if I do musicians and stuff, is it okay
Mhm.
to add a little bit of background
Yeah,
about the
I mean,
musicians,
that's-
what kind of music,
Yeah.
all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
you can add that. Just remember if you don't get too long.
Okay.
Because a lot of times you just get, all the gray will just, we gotta move on, so, but, give us the basic information, write clear and concise, and then, if we want more information, then as you start, and as long, and like I said, we build up those relationships, and then, we can, you can probably work in with the editor where hey, can I just write this up, this preview story? We're all over that, community news, so.
And it's okay to put down like their websites, their
Yep,
links,
mhm.
their whatever.
Yep, you wanna,
Maybe like bands that are popular already that sound like them.
Mhm.
If you like this music, then you'll like this band.
yeah,
Is that
just certain styles.
what you would do?
Yeah, and it's also good to, know trademarks, so that, sometimes the publication ready, there's a little style point, but sometimes, try to avoid, people will think Kleenex is a great word, but it's actually a brand name, so you wanna say tissue, things like that, it's a good thing to know, or dumpster, now the word dumpster gets used quite a bit, that's actually a trademark name.
Oh, is it?
So, if you use the word dumpster, you gotta use a capital D. I learned that the hard way. And I learned that there's a difference between NPR. NPR is not everybody on public radio. There's NPR, National Public Radio, and there's also Public Radio International. And there's a third public radio network out there too. They all defend their brand. They scan papers and do searches, and so if you mess up, they'll let you know. So we wanna make sure we get clear on that, so. That's just a little tidbit, but that's generally our responsibility, but just think that,
Are those kind of tidbits in that AP style?
AP
can,
style book.
but you can also found on, there's a website devoted to trademarks, so you don't get in trouble. Everybody defends their brand, like Coke, everybody calls them, some region of the country, everything's a Coke, what kind of Coke you want, orange? But Coca-Cola really would like you to just, unless you're referring to coal, give the name of the pop. So that's about it. I mean, it's a press release. I don't wanna make it too complicated, but just, like I said, these are rules of thumb, and I think if you follow these guidelines, you can become that path of least resistance and get your message out. And communication is like, if you're not sure of something, call, send an email, the more you build up your relationship with the editor, who decides these things, the better off it's gonna be for everybody.
Also, I'd encourage you to use social media. So once you see your press release posted on our website, go ahead and tweet it out, post it on your Facebook page, share it on LinkedIn, whatever is appropriate channel to share your information. I would encourage you to do that.
We found that actually helpful too, the RIDE, the AATA.
Yeah.
And we found it helpful also to reach out to editors through Twitter after a story goes out and have a dialogue about the article and keep that conversation going, and the community content becomes part of it as well, and it keeps that community interest going too. So finding out who they are on Twitter, asking them in person, is it okay if we converse through Twitter? Some of them just want to keep it professional and some want to be conversational. And then getting back with them and having that real-time dialogue after an official story and an official press release is really nice.
That's a great idea. And if you use like a hashtag for that, and like you said, the community joins in, you could create something like a Rebel Mouse page that you can curate all those tweets into a page, and then that can be embedded again on the newspaper's article page, and then you get more traction out of it because now you've sort of crowdsourced the whole topic and you have a new article. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming. You have my email address. If you have any questions, just send me an email.
I'm sorry, what is your first name?
Jim.